I started choking and gagging, and he was making more and more cat noises. I remember the screeching in particular. I thought, this is the worst way to die.
Can you believe at one time in recent history that you would actually need to wait until a certain day of the week to watch your favorite shows, especially cartoons? I grew up in the era of Saturday morning cartoons, guys. Like, as in not being able to just go and look at what you want to look at on demand like it is today. And man, we're spoiled nowadays, huh? But Saturday morning cartoons were a thing because you went to school all week and there wasn't many cartoons that played. But on Saturday mornings, you could watch a ton of them, and almost all the major normal TV networks would play them, and a bunch of them in the morning. So if you wanted to watch all of them and you couldn't, you can always record some of them with your VCR. That was, oh gosh, that was back in the day. But I remember watching some specific cartoons. I watched a lot of Looney Tunes and Scooby-Doo. But I remember quite a few other cartoons that I really liked. Bullwinkle was one of them. Heathcliff and Garfield, which were like the competitive cat cartoons, right? So Garfield was the lasagna-eating, fat, really pessimistic and selfish cat character that was taken care of by this guy named John, and he had a silly counterpart to the show called Odie. And Odie was just like this goofy, brainless dog that ran around and slobbered on everything, right? Heathcliff, on the other hand, was this cool cat that had a few friends and they ran a junkyard. He was like the king of the junkyard, and there was a lot of stuff that ensued for that. Garfield never interested me a whole bunch as a cartoon when I was growing up, but I appreciated some of the comedy a little bit more when I got older. And the other day I was looking around through SCP content on the channels that I have permission to react to now, and I saw that SCP Animated Tales from the Foundation had an SCP about a Garfield? Garfield being an SCP? I can't wait to find out what it's about, because normally the lore for these are so well written and it should be an interesting story. Make sure to head over to Tales from the Foundation SCP Animated channel, subscribe to him, click the notification bell, and if you like reaction videos like this, make sure to subscribe to this channel as well. Let's get into the animation. Why Garfield can never die.
This is Officer MacLeod filing a report, case number 947261. On March 5th, 2013, I was assigned to Sector Car 293 and dispatched to the corner of 450 North and 320 East, outside Paws Inc.
Alright.
The dispatcher stated that a witness had reported an assault at that location.
Is it a pet
I
store?
arrived there at 9:21 p.m. The victim was laying on the sidewalk with visible injuries to his head, torso, and arms.
Dang!
He was bloodied, but there was another red substance smeared on his face that did not appear to be blood.
Okay.
He was conscious when I arrived, but seemed to be dazed. I'm interviewing the victim now in order to aid in the search for his assailant. Sir, could you please state your name for the record?
Sure. I'm Carl Lunn.
Thank you, Carl. Now I'd like to get a full report of this incident, including as much detail as you can remember.
Right.
Please begin whenever you're ready.
Well, I had just left work. It was about 8 o'clock. It was drizzling outside, so I put on my windbreaker and tried to walk home quickly. I had stayed late at the office. I work on the Garfield comic strip, and there's talk of layoffs going around, so I wanted to show my value. I had just started working there a few months before, so I figured I'd be one of the first to go.
Alright.
I also hadn't had a chance to get to know the area very well yet. Between that and the dark and the rain, I got a little disoriented. I guess I walked past my turn and found myself in a park that I didn't recognize.
Thank goodness for GPS nowadays.
So I turned around to go back, but then there it was on the sidewalk behind me, about 200 feet away. Thought I was just seeing things at first. It was so bizarre.
We'd like to have a proper description of your assailant, sir. Please provide as much detail as possible.
And it's crazy because...
Well,
Garfield,
I couldn't tell if it was a man or a woman.
It
It was all lumpy, and honestly, it didn't really have that much of a human form to it.
Right?
It was
kind of
tall,
like Jabba
though,
the Hutt.
at least 6 feet, probably more. It was wearing a really beat up costume. And I know this sounds crazy, but it was a Garfield costume. Big eyes, bulging rolls of flesh, lots of orange fur. The tail had clearly been dragged behind it a long way.
Is it a costume?
It's one of the most disturbing things I've ever seen.
Or is it a creature? Because it's grotesque.
I know that's not a great description.
It's Garfield.
There aren't any other details you remember? Did you hear the attacker's voice, for example?
This cop is like, I'm sorry, excuse me, a Garfield costume? Okay, go on. God. Oh, wonder what my wife is cooking this afternoon for dinner.
No, I'm just gonna call it he, wouldn't say anything. He was just standing there under a streetlight, staring at me and not moving at all.
What's up with its arms?
It's kind of unsettling, so I called out to him. He didn't answer me, though. Actually, I'm pretty sure he never said a word the entire time.
Right.
He started walking toward me, and that's when I noticed he had a baseball bat.
Oh.
I kept trying to ask him what he wanted, but he wouldn't answer me no matter what I said to him.
So he has two
And
pincers.
he didn't stop coming towards me.
But a hand with a baseball bat?
So I panicked and started running away.
That's weird.
I was scared out of my damn mind. He started to chase me and the whole suit wiggled and bounced like it had jello inside it.
Guys, this has to be... So we're laughing at this, okay? Because it's ridiculous. But if you IRL, okay? It doesn't have to be Garfield, anything. If one of those animatronic looking things from Showbiz Pizza or somebody in a mascot costume or whatever would start chasing you, I don't know if I would be more scared of a human being with an identifiable weapon, you know, like an axe murderer, okay? We all have in our mind how scary that would be, right? But a freaking crazy fat Jabba the Hutt looking scary creature with a baseball bat and hook arms that look like a comic book character, I think I would just die shocked right there. Like, this is actually happening.
He was freakishly fast, too.
Oh my god.
I think I started screaming for help, but
What?
I didn't see anyone else around. I kept looking back and he kept coming closer and closer. And I could smell this awful stench coming from him.
Could you describe the smell, please?
Like a sweaty locker room that someone left old spaghetti in.
Ugh.
Lots of sweat, dirt, and tomato sauce.
Like the
Thank you.
lasagna.
Please go on with your account.
What?
Well, I was running, screaming and glancing behind me, and I slipped in a puddle and fell onto the sidewalk.
Oh
The
no.
rain made it hard to see, but I remember the sound he made when he caught up to me. It was like a low growl or a meow or something.
What the heck?
I wish I was making this up, but he seemed freakishly committed to the character.
Oh my
Then I felt this
god.
crushing blow to my hip.
Dang.
I yelled and I tried to crawl away, but he just kept hitting me with his bat until I stopped moving.
Wow.
Then I heard this tearing sound, and the smell got even stronger. The rain was much heavier by that point, and I could barely open my eyes, but I saw him standing over me with a big red blob in his hand. There's another thing I noticed then. His suit was filthy, but something about his fur was disturbingly realistic. Like
It's
it was
real.
made from actual cat fur.
It's real
Or maybe
Garfield.
another type of fur.
What's he
I
have
don't
in his
know.
hand?
But it kind of makes sense because I'm allergic to cats and I haven't been able to get my eyes to stop watering all night.
If you could get to the point, please, sir.
God.
These reports are supposed to be succinct. Just the facts and details of what happened.
Sorry. Point is, I'm pretty sure the suit was actually made of cat fur. This guy must be completely insane. So, there I was, lying on the ground. Then he starts shoving this disgusting gunk in my face.
Ugh.
That's when I knew what the tomato smell was. Somehow he was carrying around lasagna. And he started force-feeding it to me. It was 100 times worse than when he was hitting me with the bat.
What the heck?
It's just handful after handful of lasagna being shoved down my throat in big lumps. I didn't have a chance to chew. I started choking and gagging, and he was making more and more cat noises. I remember the screeching in particular. I thought, this is the worst way to die.
This has got to be... I can't even put this into words, dude. How horrible this is to imagine to actually happen to you. There is no worse fate than this. Surviving it and telling a cop about it, I don't, oh gosh. Like, there's so many traumatic things that I could think of that happened to people that changed their lives. But this has got to be the worst way to die or think you're gonna die that I could come up with, man.
On a Monday after an awful day of work, choking on lasagna force-fed to me by the character my job is all about.
Oh
But it
God.
all stopped very suddenly.
The irony.
He went silent, still, and bolted away a second later. Like a startled cat.
I see.
What the heck?
And did you have any further interaction with him after he fled?
No. After that, he was just gone. Not that I was aware of much at that point. I threw up a bunch of lasagna and passed out on the sidewalk. I'm not sure how long I was out, but I woke up after a while.
What is the
I was trying to figure out whether or not I should go to the hospital when you pulled up and found me.
That was going to be my next question. If you require medical attention, I can call an ambulance to come assess your condition.
Yeah, what's going
It's
on with the
entirely
lasagna?
your choice, but if you wish to have a record of your injuries, it could be helpful in the event that we find the individual who attacked you.
Yeah. I think I hit my head too. Might be a good idea to have someone check everything out.
Yeah.
And there's one other thing that might be helpful. I'm sure you already made this connection, but it probably has something to do with my job. Like I said, I work on the Garfield comic strip. There have been rumors, actually. I thought it was just some weird ghost story that they tell new hires to scare them off.
All right.
Someone told me about a monster who protects the comic on my first day. That I made a big mistake by getting this job. You know, a bunch of conspiracy theory talk. He said it was like Bigfoot, but with the ridiculous goal of keeping Garfield alive.
Huh.
It was supposed to come out whenever something bad happens to the comic. Like someone quitting or
Well, they were
the
having a
higher-ups
lot of
talking about
layoffs.
shutting it down.
But he wasn't.
Apparently it's happened to Jim Davis more than once.
He was trying
That's
to
what made
protect
me
him,
think he
though.
was crazy.
That's what's weird.
He claimed Davis had been assaulted by a semi-intelligent monster, but he couldn't give me any details about what the monster looked like.
That's so weird.
He said nobody knew for sure. Just that the attacks were brutal. The way he was talking, he had so much fear in his eyes. Like he'd actually seen it before.
So,
I think I understand his terror now.
but he lived through it.
Whatever that thing was, whatever I saw tonight, it was no man.
It seems like they would have a better idea of what it was about if they survived an attack, because like this guy, even though he got hit in the head, he can recollect pretty much everything that happened, a description of the creature, all this stuff. Like, why are these people clueless about this? Like, it's this rumor, this myth. Like, come on, man. You know that you got attacked to a giant fat cat shoving lasagna down your throat. You gotta know some more.
Seriously, I've never seen that look in a man's eyes before.
Well, I guess.
But now,
Excuse me, are you two talking about the Garfield incident that just happened here?
Yeah.
Excuse me, sir. We're in the middle of a report here. Could you please back up and give us some room?
Of course. But I have some information you might find useful, Officer
MacLeod.
McGallard. Great. And you are
Carl Dunn.
perfect. Targets are subdued. Proceed
Ah.
with Plan B. Jones, Franklin, you're with me.
SCP personnel. Ha! Frozen lasagna. What the heck?
Ugh, my head. What's going
The
on?
Foundation picked him up.
What is this? Who are you? Do you have any idea what kind of day I've had?
Relax.
Poor guy.
This won't be more than a minor inconvenience. We're trying to keep this brief. Do you know of anyone planning to leave the company of their own volition?
Why? You know that guy, that thing, is still out there, right?
We have the situation under control. Your assailant has been contained. Please just answer the question, sir.
All right, let's get this beast out of here. What the?
Where's my lasagna, John?
What? Oh my god, dude. So weird. The weirdest, but still a really, really cool concept. the fact that it would protect the comic strip, this is the only thing that I don't understand. It manifests, or it appears when bad things are happening, but he didn't have any intention on leaving the company. In fact, he was trying to do right, and he was trying to do more work so that he would be kept on in the layoffs. So strange, but it follows the story. This kind of reminds me of a movie that I watched called In the Mouth of Madness, and it was about an author that wrote fictional horror that seemed to come to life in a town that he wrote about in the book. It was the craziest thing, and it just detailed how the author would investigate, and he was really just like, this is all made up, this is fiction, but he would start seeing examples of the things that he wrote about in life, and it started to come to a head, and things just got crazy. It was actually a really good movie. I forget the name of the actor, but he's played in a lot of other horror movies like Event Horizon, which I also really loved. It's a great watch if you ever want a really cool classic horror movie. Other than that, guys, this is so strange. We could dive deeper into this SCP in other videos that are available for it that I looked through before I actually did this reaction. But animations seem to be the most entertaining way to kind of digest SCP for the first time. But we're gonna start doing some reactions to, or maybe you could say reactions to analysis of some of these with some other channels that have a little bit more, I guess you could say, a deep dive or drill down look at some of the SCPs according to the wiki. And they won't be quite like the animations or whatever, but it'll give us some more knowledge on these as we go. At any rate, guys, I really hope that y'all enjoyed this one. Make sure, if you like SCP content, to check out these guys at the Foundation. Really good animators. Awesome SCP stories. And if you want to watch a couple more reactions from other SCP that I have, you can check these videos on the side right here. Thanks so much for watching. As always, this is Zueljin signing off, and we'll see you next time.